Hey, good afternoon, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, the Ring of Hire show. Hey, got a great show on interview processes and with video resume screening. Be about 15 minutes. I'll be right back after this. All right, good afternoon, LinkedIn. Hey, first of all, an FYI, when you stop wearing masks for like 5 days, you're allowed to, then you get sick. You get yourself a sinus and bronchitis, and that's what's happened to me in the last couple of days. So maybe you should start wearing your mask more. I don't know, but as soon as I took it off, I got sick. So today I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things about job interviews and also video resume screening and a talent assessment. And some of the recruiters that do some of the questions is you need to really write down, understand the job. Before you're going to interview somebody, if you don't know all about the job, do some really worse research on it. And this way, because you want to really find that perfect person that's going to fill that job. Hey, Anne-Marie, hope everything's well. I know where she's at. So you want to determine how you're going to find that person, and explain the process, the entire process all the way through the hiring. So you want to let that candidate know, listen, we're having, if you had your phone interview, then you had your first interview and possibly your second in person. Let them know the entire process. Let them know when you're going to make that decision, because what's happening a lot right now is you have candidates that have gone through 5 or 6 interviews and they're just waiting for that one call. They don't know what to decide. And I'm going to be announcing hopefully this at the end of the week, tomorrow's Friday, or next week, where I'm going to be working. I'm just waiting right now before I announce it, but make the interview process just not as stressful. Get to know the person. It's not an interrogation. People during interviews are nervous. It's a fact. Even when I go out on an interview, you're no different than anybody else. It's like you're in front of that person. You're saying, what am I going to say? Or why did I say that? And then you start double thinking when you get home or when you're there. It's like you just come up with all kinds of scenarios. Why did you say it? And you got to watch that. But what I wanted to say is with video resume screening and talent assessment, you can eliminate a lot of this. And what I mean by that is you design the questions, okay? Say, customer service, let's just say, and you have to have this skill set, and you should have this mandatory or that you would likely to have. You can put all these questions on there like that. And I kind of like that because it's not only the keywords, but it's not mandatory that you have it. So when the candidate uploads their resume, it'll come back to you with a percentage. Is it always right? Maybe not. But then you're able to send them questions. I know a lot of people don't like to do the video resume screening, but it really helps the recruiter more so, because can you imagine spending an hour waiting? You're waiting, you have an interview coming in, you're talking to them. Well, they're not a fit. Let's just say they didn't qualify. The time there that you could save by utilizing a video resume. Now, some people say they might not like looking and on video, and it's the new norm. It's part of the job process, and you have to pivot. You want to pivot in a positive direction, what you can do, because when you get asked the questions, you can answer them. You're more relaxed at home on the video. And as the recruiter, you can really get to know that person a little bit if you personalize the questions plus what you're looking for. So you can put up like 4 questions. Some people say, wow, it's not secured. I always say, send it to the cloud. Send it to the cloud. That's really secure. Do you know where the cloud is? So my point is, it is secured, and it's not a PDF file. It's a PDF file, so it doesn't get rejected. So it's kind of nice. So the recruiter can make the decision and save a lot of time, because with all the resumes that go to your inbox, think about it. We've all talked about keywords. You know, today's market, I'll stand by saying at least if you meet 50% of the job description. Now, you definitely have to have software, can always be taught, but a strong, good attitude, positive, good work record, 50 to 60% of that job, you really think you could train if you're missing one or two things, you're going to win. You're going to win. There's the pipelines right now are, wow, they're tight. You know, you don't have the pipeline of like 5 to 10 candidates to choose from anymore. And then if you do, and if you take too long, you've lost them. They're gone. If you wait over, either way you do it. If you do a phone interview, and then you say next week we're going to do the in-person or video, and then the next week you're going to say, oh, we're going to do the boss's boss. That 2 weeks, I'm telling you, you got to make that decision and really rely on your team. So with a video resume screening, you can send it to everybody in the company and see what the person's like, see the personality. A lot of people are nervous, like we said, but you can really put things out there and you can learn a lot from a person. Now, the benefit of that is if you get chosen, right? So when you go to the office for the interview or the branch or whatever, they kind of know you already. Sorry, my voice. They kind of know you. So think about that. The ice is already broken. You know, they've seen your video. You know some of the questions. So it's a good thing for an icebreaker. Start talking about, hey, how you doing? Tell us about yourself, you know, your hobbies. Just get into a conversation. And that'll take you a long way. And then get into all the, all your questions for the position. Like, you know, what the experts say. This one here is, how can you tell if a candidate will be a good fit? So you really ask questions like, what is your greatest weakness? That question, I don't know why it resonates with me, but what is your greatest weakness? Not everybody answers it. You know, you might just give an answer, but you'd be better going to school and get some education, you know, anything that you can think of. And then when you think of that, what is your greatest weakness? What does that have to do with the interview? That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that question should be there. But it talked about even the career websites. When the candidate's applying, like even on Glassdoor and all them, that one-click apply, I'll tell you, one click. You realize how many people click on that, and then they don't even read the job description. So I'm going to back you up a little bit again. Think about that video resume screening also, because you're going to save so much time. You're going to ask those questions, and you're going to know if they're qualified to bring them in. So it's a pretty good tool. And also the assessment, you can put out their test. Why not? You know, send them. They say they can do PowerPoint or all these different computer. Send it to them. You know, let them do a score, and then you'll score. You'll have their resume, you'll have the video resume screening, and you'll have an assessment already. So think about that. You got all three. You already know the candidate. You're ready to bring them in. That's just one of the questions. This one here. What do they have in common? Why are they resourceful? What did they accomplish before working at your organization? There's some good questions. Ask about, like, what would the interview be like? What kinds of question will you ask? How do you squeeze this meeting to my workday? You know, a lot of the candidates can't do the interview. They might be working during the day. So I always say to that, staffing isn't just 9 to 5 anymore. It's not, especially with direct hires. You might want to plan at 8 o'clock at night. Hey, if you're getting direct hire fees, why not? The person's more comfortable. Yeah, you're not on your lunch break saying, hey, 30 minutes. Just a suggestion there. I would work with the candidate on that, and also reduce the stress. You know, we've talked about that, and What are people to wear? That's just common sense. Dress to impress. First impressions are a lot. Remember that candidates, when you interview, are nervous. Some of their questions might not be when they said it. You might be like, I don't know, but write yourself notes down. What they probably meant. It's a good way to look at it. Whew, all right. Involve others. When you do your one-on-one interview and you like the person, right? You want to move them to the second step. I recommend personally, go to the person that does the job. Let the supervisor, manager in on that process, because they're the ones that do the job. So, but don't get 4 or 5 people. You're going to lose them. You start getting 4 or 5 people, again, you lost. They're gone. Because everybody wants to ask so many questions. That is the interview. It's the interview process, whether they're qualified for you. Just my suggestion there. This here, it was saying budget 2 hours. These are some of the experts. I don't know, 2 hours. That's a lot for a first interview. I don't really believe in that. Assume the person will be promoted to manager someday. I don't know. But he or she can do the job for a year from now. Hope so. All right. This one I do like. Ask for real solutions. So give them a scenario. What would you do? Right? What would you do? Give that to them. See what they say. If you were in this position and this happened, what would you do? It's just kind of like a chef. When a chef interviews, right, they go and they have to cook something. So you're going to know right away if that chef comes out, and you can't deny that when you can't cook, he or she. So think about it. Give your scenarios, and you might be surprised to really give some good answers versus always the structured questions all the time. The structured questions, everybody knows them. And personally, I just believe that you got to change it up. You got to pivot. Look, some new ideas. Come up with some new ideas to find those candidates. So let's see this one here. Again, this one's saying maybe one person, HR, says no, 2 managers say yes. That might be why you don't want to get so many people involved. Let's see, sell the job. Sorry. So you want to sell the job. If they're in that second interview, that's when you really know. Discuss it in detail. Really make that person feel like they're going to be a fit. Ask the good questions and make them feel that they want to come back. When you talk to that candidate and you're going to hire them, and when they leave, you want them to say, you know what, I want to work here. On the other hand, if something happens and somebody says, no, we're not going to do that, you got to be real careful with that, because by doing that, you're going to give that candidate a lot of hope. And then when you send that email or call, that can really hurt someone. So you have to bear in mind that it's a stressful time for everybody right now. Nobody's perfect, but I always base it on a scale. So what you want to do is, this is what you need, this is what you have. And you can balance it off by training and teaching. You want to lower your candidate stress level. Again, for video resume screening, they're going to do very well on their first, and then their interview when they come in. Again, you're going to already know them. So, and ask behavioral questions and situational questions. Just write everything down. Make sure you write things down before you do the interview, because a lot of the times you think you'll remember, but you won't. There's like, oh, why didn't I ask that question? Then you got to call them back or in your second interview. But if you have 6 interviews lined up, you got to write that down for each person. And don't make that decision within the first hour. You got to really sit back and look at everybody's skill set. Let's see. We talked about that. Real life scenarios. Again, some of the questions that you can do is just give them real life scenarios. It says it right there. What would you do? That there gives the person ready to think, because when you ask them what they've done, it's hard for people to remember when you're in that interview process. Like, what have I done? What were the numbers? What were the sales, right? And now, of course, you're going to want to say something good. That's just positive. You're going to want to do that. But when you put them in a real scenario, I think you're really going to be able to learn from that candidate a little bit more from just a simple question. So look at that. The other one, I like this one here. The job descriptions really work on the job descriptions. You don't have to put the same basic thing over and over and over. Word, computer skills. Listen, detail the job, sell the job in that job description. You're going to find some really good candidates, passive right now, or because the workplace is going to really transform in these next 2 months. You're going to see a lot of people either coming back in or a lot of people leaving what they've accepted during COVID and what they're going for now. So you really have to, look at that job description, sell it to me, sell it to the person. Would you want to work for a company that's just a basic job description? Again, culture, attitudes, that's what you're really looking for. And then some of the skill set too, that'll help. When it comes to references, listen, I don't know about you, but I haven't really checked many references as much as I should, because first of all, you're going to give nothing but positive ones, right? You're going to listen, here's 3 people. Do you really think they're going to say something bad about you? I'm sorry. But references, you might want to call them to see if they worked. That's what most companies say. Yes, they worked from here to there. But, you can have people write it up. I mean, of course, you're going to put something bad. You're not. So that's just my opinion. Tough questions, hostile environment. Keep it, when you start out, again, like I said, make it a relaxed atmosphere. They're nervous. It's a fact. They're nervous and they need that work. So find out what inspired them to look at the job. What did you notice about the job that you liked? And they're going to tell you right there. They're going to tell you. Now, if they haven't, you're going to tell already that they just applied. And, hey, what job is this? When you call. And that's happened to me. So that's because that damn one-click job, apply. But look at video resume screening. Really take a look at it, and talent assessment, and build yourself around that. Because if you have 10 or 12 that come in for you, and you're going to see how qualified they are. Again, not all about keywords. Now, if they really need, it's a skill set, you're going to have something. That's just a fact. But you can literally see the person in front of you, see how they're answering their questions, see what percentage that they're qualified. Again, not so much keywords, but make it relaxing. So on that note, I got a lot of cough medicine to take. And I'll be back tomorrow, and we will talk to you soon. And have a good night.